Hello and welcome to the weekly reading. I really feel like this week's biggest awareness that was showing up for me as I reflected on the astrology of the week was that this is the last full week that we have Jupiter, which is all about growth and expansion, in the sign of Pisces, the final sign of the zodiac, and all about dreams and merging and connecting. And last week it will be in this sign for 12 years. So this is a really big cycle. Changes around midweek next week into Aries. So it's really a time to kind of hone in on the dream. What is the dream? And how do you almost like go to sleep and let the dream settle and wake up and take action on the dream? Because Aries is more like get up and go, head first, charge. Even if you're afraid, just do it anyway. So Pisces, this last week, well, it will be a little bit more than a week, but definitely the whole of this week, Jupiter is doing this little Pisces dream. So I feel like that's an important thing to recognize. We've already had Venus and Mercury move into Capricorn, so we're really starting to feel the Capricornic flavor coming through, even though the sun isn't moving for a little while. So just feeling into the combination of Sagittarius and Capricorn energies shifting as well. So choose your number between 1 and 4 and let's dive into this weekly card reading. And please remember that I am available for private readings, tarot and astrology, also healing sessions or combinations of the several things that I do. I do a combination of crystal healing, energy balancing, tarot and astrology as well. So let's jump in. Okay, here is the big picture of the whole week. And then just honing in to begin, our anchor card is the Three of Cups. And I love the Three of Cups. It's such a beautiful card about emotion and friendship and camaraderie and connection and community and all of those good things in its upright form. You can see these three young women in a field of lavender looking up at the stars. It's just a really that is like when we're feeling great within relationship with people, where we feel that connection and we feel we're not alone, which all of us are desperately seeking. And even we're not alone because they are together, but also we're not alone as they look up into the stars and realize that there is greater energy than we can even fathom, and feeling actually connected to that rather than afraid. When it's upside down, it speaks to the fact that perhaps we need to connect in that way and we're struggling to, and maybe we need to see our own value within relationships. So if you're feeling like, oh, I don't know, what do I even bring to this relationship, and you're getting all insecure about how you fit into a group or an individual relationship, but this card is often the group. So let's say families are gathering at this time of year and you're feeling like a little bit left out in situations, and a lot of that is probably just in your own head and about how you're feeling about yourself rather than what's actually happening. Or you're planning a New Year's get together and you're thinking like, oh, I don't know if I'll fit into that group or what they'll think of me, and you're starting to allow yourself to feel disconnected rather than connected, and holding yourself back from valuable connection and relationships with people because you're isolating. So really be aware of that in this. The whole sort of main theme of the week is watching yourself in those social situations and watching yourself in any kind of relational situations, and see where you are defaulting to some of your old stuff. So maybe you are becoming the hermit because you want to rather avoid that. Maybe you are being passive aggressive because you're not wanting to be direct about what it is that you want. Maybe you see that your lack of boundaries is really showing up, or maybe you see that your excessive boundaries are really showing up. So just watch yourself in those situations. But then we have a really positive sort of follow on with the Knight of Pentacles, because he really gets things done. So if we come back to that kind of Jupiter and Pisces theme, we can say, if you're letting your insecurities get the better of you in this card, you might find that it's a case of where you should actually be dreaming big and connecting, because that's what that card in its upright form is. You're letting your insecurities get the better of you, and that dream is becoming a nightmare for you, but then you want to wake up and get things done. So that's I can't see where I'm touching properly when I'm holding the phone. The Knight of Pentacles is very resilient, reliable, steadfast. He will follow through with what needs doing. So you really do want to be very cognizant of the Three of Cups card and not allow yourself to be caught in the nightmare of where you're not good enough, you're not lovable enough, you're not valuable within relationship, you're the black sheep of the family. Any of that narrative, you really want to turn that around and say all the positive things to yourself. Be your best friend in that situation. Be the person that you would want your best friend to be if she came or he came to you and said, no, you have value, you are worthy, your boundaries are say it's safe to establish boundaries, or whatever that is for you, so that when you wake up in the morning after that Piscean dream, you are ready to build and move forward, because Knight of Pentacles promises beautiful materialization of your dreams. And as I say, he is a really reliable chap. And it's kind of that slow and steady with Pentacles. It's an earth element. So it's like slow and steady wins the race. And we're coming from water and earth here. If we see Cups and Pentacles, and we've actually got another Water Cups card there. And High Priestess is very watery herself. So the overall energy of this reading is quite watery, which is emotional and fluid and connecting and merging. And in fact, Pisces is a water sign. So Jupiter in Pisces has really brought through a big watery feel for us. But Knight of Pentacles helps us to cement it, to ground it, to turn that excess water into clay that can be molded as we move forward, which, I mean, for me, that's a really positive feel to the whole deal. And then High Priestess is a super intuitive, amazing woman. She can be, because her vibrational frequency is so attuned and so sensitive, she can be easily overwhelmed. And for those of you like me who have very strong psychic senses or clairsenses, like clairvoyance, claircognizance, clairaudience, etc., we have 5 psychic senses just as we have 5 regular senses. And her 6th sense, her intuition, is extremely high vibrational. So therefore, she's feeling beyond what is obvious, feeling beyond what is earthy, like the Pentacles energy. And that can be extremely overwhelming. In fact, she's always pictured with closed eyes. I love in this deck how you can kind of see the eyes in her eyelids, because she sees beyond that usually quite dominant sense. We do have a concept of, if I can't see it, it can't be true in our society. And in her case, it's the exact opposite. So our intuition is going to be high. And that again comes back to Pisces and Jupiter. So I love how this reading, I looked at the energy in the sky and felt like that was the primary story. And then I look at this card reading that I drew after and went, yep, that's definitely the primary story coming through. Jupiter, again, is expansive. He makes everything bigger. So if you are naturally psychic and intuitive, and Jupiter is doing his last week in Pisces, and the High Priestess comes into our reading, and this was the card you chose, number 3, best believe you are in a really good place to intuit. But you've got to be able to trust yourself. She is upright, which is good. But our other 2 cup cards are upside down, which may lead us to kind of emotional dithering. We might start going one way and then wish we could flow another way. We might be flowing with the tide and want to turn around and not be able to. And that is actually a very strong resonance for the 8 of Cups. The 8 of Cups in its upright form, although difficult, because it's kind of like walking away from something, and you could say she's walking into the sunrise or she's walking into the sunset, because really there's not really so much of a difference if we're talking symbolically. If you're walking away into the sunset, you're waiting for the sun to rise on the other side of it. If you're walking away into the sunrise, you've just walked away from a sunset. So they're kind of inextricably linked. But when you look at a card like that, does it feel like sunrise or sunset? Does it feel like you've walked away and you're walking towards the new, or does it feel like you're walking into the sunset knowing with deep faith that the sun will rise again? And she's burned away what no longer serves her in this. So it brings in a bit of fire through the burning of the bowls and also the sun coming up, which is quite nice in this reading that is so watery that we have a bit of fire coming into this card. And upright, as I say, it is a acceptance of the walking away, which is quite a good card, even though a challenging card. But when it comes upside down, as we have drawn it in this reading, this is where you're really going to have to watch, like I was saying about that river. You're stuck in the current and you're going in the one direction and you've changed your mind and you want to turn around. This is that card where you made that decision. You walked away from that job, you walked away from that relationship, you walked away from that situation, and now you're having second thoughts. And I think the big thing here is, if you're trusting High Priestess within you, you will know when you did that for the right reasons, even if, and especially at this time of year, at this time of year, it's easy to want to lean back into what is familiar and safe. And it's the walking away is hard. So we might also look at the Eight of Cups at, where am I avoiding my feelings? Where am I avoiding the work so that I can walk away from what is no longer healthy for me? Because if this card is upside down, there is definitely a higher likelihood of either going back into a bad pattern or avoiding dealing at all so that you stay stuck in a bad pattern. And I think if we can lean into the center two cards here, which are saying, just take the next step, Knight of Pentacles. You've got this. Be the knight. Be that warrior. Be that slow and steady, practical, reliable person within your own life. Be that for yourself. Trust your intuition. Lean into this higher knowing. You don't have to understand how you know. It's trusting the subtle senses. Then make sure that you're not isolating or avoiding, or whatever it is that you feel like you're doing wrong in connection with others in the Three of Cups. Groups, family, so it might be family, it might be friends, and it may be one-on-one relationships as well. Then we can turn that around if we're trusting these two, and then we can be true to ourselves. I actually feel like this Eight of Cups card is not so much talking to a pattern just broken. It's talking to either you did something, you made a decision, you changed something, and now you're regretting it on some level and wanting to backtrack. But it's probably that you made the right decision, and your intuition is, you're not backing your intuition because you're feeling sad about whatever it is that you did. Or I'd say the second train of thought with that, and you do feel into which is stronger for you, or there's a decision you need to make. There's a thing you need to walk away from. But every time you want to kind of think about it, you avoid. So you go into whatever numbing tool you use to avoid even going there. So I would say that those are the two types of people. So it's either happen already and you want to backtrack, or you won't let it happen at the moment and you're using your avoidance tactics to not go there. Not that you've just made a decision. This feels like it's been there a while. Okay, I hope this is a helpful reading. I really do want you to tap into that slow and steady wins the race. Earth has good boundaries and High Priestess has good intuition. How can you bring in your healthy boundaries and your brilliant intuition this week? Please follow, like, share, subscribe, comment. I'd love to hear how this resonates with you, and have a beautiful week.